That's not a blow kiss to you guys. I was blowing my kiss to Mayor.
Hey, man, I'll take it.
So what did we decide on the conference? How we're going to discuss it?
What's our order here tonight?
Whichever way. I just had them. That's the order that they were actually presented by the earliest. So EA was first, Bethesda was second. In terms of earliest, which was Friday or Saturday. Friday, I think EA was. So we could do it that way. We can start from bottom to top because the bottom three are the more important ones. We can do whichever one. I don't really care.
I think I don't know what you guys want to do, but I think it'd be better if we started with the big three and then moved out to the third party publishers. Because I mean, at least in the third party publishers, there's just like maybe one or two in each that I would be willing to talk about. I don't know what you guys think, but
yeah, we can kind of lump them. Yeah, we can kind of lump those together too. I mean, as far as the publishers. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a pretty good one. Now I figure we go like personal favorites. I've got a couple here and one I don't think anybody else was going to put on there. So, all right. Do we want to start with what we've been doing lately, or just jump right into the E3 stuff?
Love you. If we can keep what we've been doing short, we can do that.
Okay, we'll keep it short then. What time you got to jump off at, Daniel?
Probably around 11ish. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I mean, I might be able to. We'll see.
I mean, because full disclosure.
We'll see how much.
I like your style. I watched only one conference. It was Sony's, and I watched over half of it without sound. So.
I bet that was interesting.
but I follow Wario64 on Twitter, so I pretty much saw everything that there is to see.
I guess the question then is, did you watch Death Stranding's trailer with or without sound? Because
I did have sound for that one.
I was going to say, either way, you're still probably just as confused.
Yeah, I was about to say, it doesn't matter. Oh, Kojima, we love you. All right. I'll do an intro. Welcome to the Monsters of Geek podcast. This is our first episode of season 2. So if you're a longtime listener, if you've noticed on your feed, all the old episodes are pretty much gone at this point. So we're starting over with season 2 with this number 1. And it's like Marvel Comics, man. We got like the nice holographic, foil embossed, cover coming out to you. So you might want to download this on a USB, put it in a poly bag, and hold on to it because it'll pay for your kids' college one day, I promise. So we want to touch on E3 for our first episode of season 2. A lot of stuff happened in terms of press conferences. In fact, E3, by the time you hear this, is still going on. But all the major stuff is pretty much done before the doors even open to the conference. So we've got a great lineup tonight. Joe is not here. Yeti's not here. So if, we won't have to look at his bare chest that he usually podcasts from. But we have chuckling to that joke. Thank you for chuckling to the joke, Daniel. We have Daniel Robinson with us today, and he'll be on the esteemed panel for our E3 discussion. We've got Andrew Foltz, of course, and we have a very special guest, Mr. Aaron Helbert, with us today. I know Aaron through my brother Joe. And I joke with Joe all the time when Aaron, he's like, "You're Joe's brother, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." I always have to pause and be like, "How do you know Joe? Do you know him with? Did you meet him when he was was shirtless in a public place, or did you just know him from school? Like, where did you know him?" So, Aaron, Aaron, we appreciate you being on tonight, man.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So we'll start with Aaron. So if you're new to the show. We do this thing where we just kind of catch up with each other, like what's going on in terms of what we're reading, watching, playing, and whatnot, and just kind of touching on what we do best. This will be kind of a shorter one. We'll discuss a little bit here. We want to jump into the meat of the episode, which is the E3. But Aaron, since you are our special guest, what have you been playing? What have you been reading? What have you been up to lately?
Let's see. So I've been playing God of War. I'm hoping to finish that this Thursday evening. So it's fantastic. If you're not playing it, you should pick it up and forsake all other games for it, in my opinion.
Amen. Preach, brother.
would like to just say that I finally caught up to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I am loving every bit of it. I was cut off about halfway. I think the last thing I had watched in the same timeline as the releases would have been. Oh man, now I can't even remember what it was at this point.
It was Guardians, wasn't it?
Probably Guardians, yeah.
2.
No, 1.
1. Oh wow.
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
So I had a lot of
I
catching
thought I
up
was
to do.
bad.
So that's really all I've been doing. I caught up to that and playing God of War. That's about it.
So are you a platinum guy, Aaron? Like, do you go for platinums like these two guys do?
Only for very specific games. Like I knew immediately that I was going to platinum Horizon Zero Dawn, but it's not something that I just have to do. I'll probably go for God of War. And spoiler alert, I'm jumping ahead, but with Sony announcing New Game Plus, it's even more exciting to do. So,
Sony fanboy alert! Look out!
Is that coming? Is that coming as DLC?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Daniel, they're sending you a new disc in the mail. You know.
You want me to leave? You want me to leave? I will. You just said I held this podcast together. I'll get off here, man. Y'all can go around.
Don't worry, Daniel. We got some zingers planned. It's okay. We'll get them back.
No, I'm looking forward to God of War too. I'm just waiting on a price drop. So waiting to get it at 40 before I pull the trigger. But I'm looking forward to playing it this year.
It's amazing when you have kids how much you wait for those price drops now, right now.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Absolutely.
Oh, we got 3 dads on here. I forgot about that. Andrew just buys it whenever. You know, he just goes out, buys it $60.
That's not true. Me and Aaron game share, so I'll buy
that's
one
true.
and then he'll buy one. So, Aaron, you bought that one, right? So it's my turn next.
Yeah, it's your turn next. I don't even know what we're gonna get.
Try Spider-Man. Spider-Man's looking good, but we'll get there.
I almost bought Burnout Paradise.
Spider-Man.
So
I'm glad we don't have a crazy platinum guy here. I mean, I feel more normal on this podcast now instead of being judged for everything I play.
I was going to say Aaron is actually more kind of on your level, Aaron, in that he doesn't really beat games. So,
no, we just don't obsess about them. We enjoy them up to a point until you have to find like the little ant in like the square of a level or whatever.
No, you guys don't finish the game.
We finish it on our terms, Andrew.
So you don't finish the story.
5 or 6 years late.
Yeah. It only took him. How long did it take you to beat Last of Us? A year?
Yeah, I probably started it in October and finished it in around July after taking several months to not even touch it.
Of course, and that
game's pretty heavy, so.
And I will be fair on that. I think that was right in the height of our Destiny obsession. So.
Oh, absolutely. We were rating.
So I will grant him a little reprieve there.
Andrew, what have you been up to, man?
I've been platinum in God of War, and
of course,
let me just second everything that Aaron just said about it, and then double it because it was phenomenal, start to finish. It does start a hair slow, but not really. You immediately with that axe, you get this feel for this combat that you're just like, I don't know, kind of hard to explain unless you're just playing it. But it's just got this slow, methodical pace to it, I felt like, as you get started. And then as you get more used to it, more enemies come in and the pace picks up a little bit. And then some other stuff happens that I won't go into because they're spoilers that really pick up the pace of the combat. And they really kind of just slow build you into this God of War. And it's just and by the end you're just like slaying enemies left and right. You're switching to this and you're using this combo and doing this. And I'm not a combo person and I'm not a technical combat person. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it up until there's a couple of grindy things that any platinum trophy is going to have that were kind of like eye rolly, but even those weren't really that bad. So God of War, excellent. I texted you guys as soon as I finished the story and was like, you have to play this game. And yeah, I know you guys were nervous because that series has a reputation for it's just over the top violence, and you still like beat this Draugr to death and then throw its head on the ground and stomp it and pull its legs and rip its head off that way. But that's not as violent as it sounds, actually.
It's not as painful. If you crush the guy's head first, he's probably not feeling his legs being pulled off. So I guess it's okay, right?
No, you're pulling the head off with your foot. But no, it doesn't celebrate violence in the same way. And there's a greater gravity to it that I don't know. It's just awesome. And so I had to text you guys right away and be like, you've got to play this game.
So let me ask you both this question. And one of the things I was listening to the Giant Bombcast, and so one of the complaints was not complaints, but one of the things that didn't really show you how to or lead you in a way to upgrade your combos and stuff. One guy was like, I was just buying new weapons and stuff really wasn't happening. He knows how to play games. He's a game journalist forever. Jeff Gerstmann. He's like, I never felt like it pointed me towards the way that I need to go in order to really get the combos and some of the stuff he does. Did you guys find it was a little bit? Did it not lead you that way? You had to try to go through the menu and figure out how to do that, or was it pretty clear that hey, you can buy all the weapons you want, but you really got to concentrate on these specials?
I played 2/3 of the game without upgrading my axe because I didn't realize what I needed to do so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like I was getting the item, but you have to actually like activate the item. So I was walking around with that item in my inventory, but not having used it to actually. Aaron's laughing at me.
I'm sorry because it's so true. I know exactly how you feel.
It's a completely legitimate criticism, but it's also like a minute one, honestly. Like,
gotcha.
Yeah, you can hear this criticism and then know how to fix it. So, you know what I mean? Like, and if that's your biggest criticism of the game of the year, then it's doing pretty good.
Yeah, and that's what the rest of them kind of told them because they figured out a little on is that if you start doing that and kind of told them, hey, this is what you need to do. The next episode he told me, he goes, okay, now I'm getting it a little bit more because I'm getting the upgrades more and kind of it opens up the combat a bit more. And that was his other thing was the combat, but I think some people had some issues with the camera, with it not being as, I guess, it's one shot, I guess, from behind the back or something. And he was having issues with not knowing an enemy was coming off of the screen. I know they had like the little blinkers, but it was a little bit late for him or something. But he said once he kind of opened it up and got the combo stuff, the combat really opened up.
I mean, I'm pretty mediocre at video games, but if someone needs more warning than God of War gives you, then I'm just going to have to say get good.
Wow. Get good.
I think the only thing that probably gives Jeff in particular some problems is I'm pretty sure he's also colorblind. So those fire.
He did say that. Yeah, him and Vinny actually are colorblind, which is really odd to have two colorblind guys on working for one video game outlet. But yeah, he did say, he said, he was like, it was a little bit tough, but once, he tends to, it's crazy to me, and then off a tangent, it's amazing me how he plays games because a lot of the games now, they are so color based, like the warnings and everything else. It's quite amazing that he can get through as many games as he can. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Destiny had to implement a colorblind mode.
He talked about that.
Yeah. So, and so I guess I'll have to apologize and take back my get good and say get color.
I don't know if that's any better, but okay. Daniel, what have you been up to, man?
I'm still playing Mass Effect. Been working on it for a while. I finally beat it this weekend. I beat it for my first time through, and going back start another playthrough, and really enjoying that. Really liking it, and don't know what I'm going to do next. That's pretty much been taking up all my time. I've got almost 100 hours on it now. Ooh. So yeah, I've been pumping the hours into that. Hours that I didn't know that I had. So, I've been sacrificing a lot of sleep to get to pump hours into it. So that's been about the only thing.
That's why you're getting off here at 11.
Man, I got to work. I got work to do. Okay.
The truth comes out.
Not actual work. Like
grinding for planetary materials. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if you do that.
Daniel, where are you at in your platinum total
for the year?
Yeah,
I'm on pace.
Okay.
But I've slowed down considerably. I was I'm
still. Let's just be quite honest. You busted out of the gates pretty good, so you gave yourself a pretty good cushion.
Yeah, I got. I told you I had to get 10 every 3 months, and I got 15 the first 3 months. So I was doing really good, and then this 3 months I've only managed like 6. So I've slowed down considerably.
So
I'm playing more difficult games. So
our Destiny clanmate had a goal of 1 a month, and we thought that was excessive. So I'm assuming you've already done My Name is Mayo, and
I haven't done that one yet. No.
Well, that's like super cheap and super easy. 36 Fragments of Midnight. That's another good one I just did.
Listen to you guys. Those aren't even games, probably. They're just like screensavers you watch and get a platinum or something.
My Name is Mayo is not a game. That's 100%. 36 Fragments of Midnight is a decent little platformer. It's way too easy of a platinum. I got it I got it in an hour, and it's a double. It has separate lists for Vita and PS4, so you can get 2, and it's like $2, $2 or $3.
How do you spell that again? 36. Do you spell 36, or is the number 36?
It's the number. It is.
Put them both in. I'm sure they're under both at some point. I'm sure.
So that's 4 easy ones, and I bring those up because I'm ahead in the Destiny clan, and in our platinum race, it's really just me and him because Aaron has 1, right? Hilbert, you have 1.
No, I got Rocket League.
Oh, and Destiny, you have 3.
Destiny, I got 3 platinums.
I forgot I carried you guys for that Flawless Raider trophy. Anyway,
yes, you did.
So I'm in first, and I had like 46, and the other guy had like 30 some. So getting one per month for the year was going to put him ahead. And I started feeling the heat, but I knew I didn't have time to really do anything about it. So I just kind of like stealth in 1 week, got the God of War plat, the Life is Strange, Before the Storm plat, which was super easy. And then the 4 plats for My Name is Mayo and 36 Fragments of Midnight. And all of a sudden, I expanded my lead back to like 10. And he was like, "What the heck happened?" He was all mad. And then he found out what I did. And he was like, "Man, you know what you did. I don't even have to criticize you for that." I said, "Listen, if you want the lead, you have to do what you got to do to get the lead. Like that's how this works."
Well,
anyway, I apologize for the sidebar.
I'll say this, Aaron, and we'll get back to it. But I really slowed down because I started on I started on Nier Automata. I finally got around to playing it and really liked it, but it was a lot longer than I ever thought it would be. It took me a long time to do that one, and then I've been playing
platinum in that one. Don't you have to get all the endings? They're like 36 endings or something.
That's overstated. How I mean, there are that many, but they're overstated.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of them are just like separate game over screens, like different game over screens at different
points. And you can buy, like, after a certain point, you can just buy the trophies from like an in-game store. Upload your cloud save.
Now that's my kind of trophy.
Yeah.
But then I've been playing Mass Effect like nonstop. So I think after I beat Mass Effect, I'll probably go back and try to take it down some more easier games. But I really want to put the nail on in Mass Effect and finish it off.
So have you liked Mass Effect, or are you disappointed, or just kind of in between? Or
I loved it.
Okay.
It's really good. I mean, like,
you
you probably
loved and Mass Effect Andromeda in the same sentence this past year, so just checking.
You probably wouldn't like it because you don't know the story. But I think Andrew would probably like it. I mean, he knows what's going on with it. He knows the story. He's already invested in the universe. I think he would like it. But I've really enjoyed it. Of course, I'm playing, the fully patched version. And
so they fixed a lot, right?
Yeah, they have. And I still run in some errors. Some scenes don't look right. Characters sometimes will
that was always
merge with each other. I know, that's my point. God, it's always been that, like pretty much every BioWare game has its own issues, and that's always an issue when you're creating your own character and putting them in these cutscenes. So it doesn't have any other issues that I haven't seen in other BioWare games, and it has a lot of the same issues, and it's set up a lot of the same way that Dragon Age Inquisition was. But that was almost universally praised. So I still don't understand why, it's just universally hated by users, because it's a good game and I've really enjoyed it. So
eventually, Mass Effect fell to the hype machine in a lot of ways.
They got ran over by the hype train.
Yeah.
So what have I been up to? Finished a couple games. So I think it's been. Let's see. No, did I finish 2 games? or maybe I started one. I know I finished. I actually got a review copy of Saturday Morning RPG for the Switch.
Yes, look at Mom.
Working on the written review. Some things have went on in adult life that was very scary and kind of going on, but everything's fixed up now, so I'm back on writing on that review. Really good kind of just independent game. Plays basically a ode to the 80s and early 90s type of thing. I enjoy it. I don't think everybody would because of the time period they're kind of invoking. Not everybody's going to get the jokes. Not everybody's going to get the references. But it's just a straight up kind of JRPG with some different other stuff that they've thrown in to make it a little bit more interesting in the combat. But I finished that, and I'm working on I started Axiom Verge. That game is really well designed. It's a really good. It's not a Metroidvania. It's more of a straight up Metroid in terms of that. But it's good, and I'm a big fan of the 8-bit, 16-bit type of stuff going on. So I'm kind of stuck. I'm actually ahead of the storyline. So unfortunately, I have opened up places that I wasn't supposed to open up yet. So there's parts of the storyline where I get to this part. It's like, oh, behind me is this weapon you'll need, and I've already got the weapon. So so I've already found it with the power. So I'm a little bit ahead of the curve. So I'm actually a little bit lost now, but it's really fun. The weapons are cool. The bosses are incredible. Reminds me a lot of Contra in terms of just how kind of grotesque that they are, type of thing. Story's really cool. A little bit of a curveball in the middle that I thought was really cool, kind of different. But working through that, that will be my 11th game this year. 11th, yeah. So Saturday Morning RPG was my 10th. This will be my 11th. I did go back and check the episode. Joe said 10 for the year, and I get a cake. I've already got a cake, so maybe I can slow down a little bit. I'm just having
a portal cake.
I don't know. I said he had to write stuff on it. He didn't want to do that. So as long as I just get a cake, I guess I'll be happy. He may actually get his finger and write, "Good job, bub," in the icing, but. We'll never know. We will know at some point, but I don't really want that either. I've just been having fun playing the Switch. It makes it so much more accessible. If I have some downtime to play, been making some long car trips back and forth. So I've been playing on the car trips, and if I have a little bit of time at work, I pull it out and play. So it's just I'm all in on the Switch, man. I can't remember the last time I actually fired up my PS4 to play anything. So, but yeah, I never thought I'd beat 5 games this year, let alone 10, and enjoyed every one of them. Really enjoyed playing them. And not really, I haven't really played a bad game this year, which is pretty cool. So just kind of working through my Switch library. Yeah, so that's it. So we'll jump into the meat of the episode, the E3 discussion. If you're listening to this, hopefully this will be out on Wednesday, and I did date it because I want to force myself to get it out tomorrow. All the conferences are over. Nintendo just was the last, I guess their Treehouse or their direct video thing, not necessarily a press conference they don't do anymore. But they finished that up about 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock Eastern time, and got that done. So I want to bring these guys together and discuss it and talk about some E3 stuff while the fire is still hot on it, and we got some good thoughts on it. Guys, what just overall, before we get any conferences or any of the games, how'd you feel about the overall E3 so far in terms of the conferences? Did you like all of them? Did you feel like it was a little bit lackluster in general? Or Aaron, we'll start with you. Did they kind of live up to the hype this year in terms of just as a group of conferences, or did you kind of feel let down a little bit?
I thought it was a mix of 50-50. I think Sony and Microsoft really hit the nail on the head pretty well, even though Sony's was a little non-traditional. I thought Ubisoft did well as far as the publishers was concerned. I missed most of Bethesda, but from what I understand, it was okay. And then I thought EA, Square, and then I missed Nintendo, but it didn't seem like Nintendo had a lot to offer. It seemed like they probably missed the boat a little bit, but that could also be that I'm not a humongous Nintendo fan either. So that's how I felt.
Andrew, what? Did you just boo him? Just boo our guest, Andrew?
He's used to it. It's all right.
It's totally fair. It's not that I dislike Nintendo. It's maybe that I guess the last Nintendo system I owned was a Wii. I just am disconnected.
That was the last Nintendo system 100 million people owned.
If you get a Switch, you'll really be disconnected because you can take your games with you.
Well, see, I've been doing that with. I'm a Vita guy, and I don't play it a ton, but
I like my dead portable
like
system. It's fine.
Yeah, it's totally cool.
I think
Aaron's actually true. It is perfect.
Since you guys are going all Switch, I think Aaron may be my new best friend. So I like everything he's saying.
I've been carrying my Vita.
I got all my
name is Mayo, and
I got all my old PS1 games on my Vita.
You don't play them. You just sit there and hope they come to Switch so you can play them there.
No joke. That's what I'm doing lately. and so far, everyone that had come out on the Vita that I'm like, I won't get, like 2 days later, it's like, oh, it's coming to the Switch too. Oh, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
I mean, with Vita's proprietary memory cards, you might as well fill them up with something.
Oh, mine's filled up, and that's the last memory card I'll buy. So those things are stupid expensive.
Aaron's finally going to try Fortnite now that it's out on Switch. Like,
no Fortnite for me.
Just kidding. No. I knew better. Yeah.
Andrew, what about you, man?
Just a little inside baseball. We have a Facebook chat for our Destiny group, and Aaron's nickname on there has been Switchless since the the biggest Sony fanboy of our group bought a Switch with his Christmas money. Like, Aaron's the lone holdout, and he's not even as big a Sony fanboy as our biggest Sony fanboy who bought a Switch. So,
wow. Last holdout.
Yeah. Anyway, I agree with Aaron. It's been kind of a mixed bag. I really thought Microsoft did extremely well. Their problem, Aaron Collier, as you said when we were talking, was that just about everything they put out there, especially everything that I was excited for, I'm like, I don't need Microsoft. I don't need an Xbox for that. So I'm in good shape. Like, I'll just get it on my PS4 and carry on with my life. But I did think they had a very good conference. They had a lot to offer. Sony, that church thing they did was wicked. And then how it, goes into the very first scene. I guess this is what we're looking to talk about, right? Or these details. And then so how it goes into the actual scene of Last of Us 2, like, that was just super neat. And I was impressed by that. I thought that was neat. It was a cool way to kind of, I don't know, make it memorable, I guess would be the right way to say it. Like, I feel like we'll remember that for a few years, which is not always the case on these big, dull, boring press conferences. We'll have those moments. We'll remember Miyamoto holding that Mario plus Rabbids gun for a couple years, and now we'll remember the time Sony built a church at E3 and put people in the Last of Us scene. I think that was neat. Nintendo, the last few years, I feel like they've not really brought it with their, and it's not even a press conference, it's whatever their streaming event is called. But I still like their approach to E3 these days, which is that you get kind of like this slow burn of news over 3 days as they do these Treehouse Lives. So I'm excited to see what else we might get. It's curious to me that Yoshi cardboard game isn't coming out or isn't at E3 this year, because I thought it was going to come out this year.
I've got some inside information on that.
I saw that someone was speculating that there's going to be some Labo.
I was just going to make a joke that you're going to do like a Labo Yoshi costume that you put together. And you're gonna,
there's speculation that because all the scenery and sets were cardboard related, there's going to be some Labo. I'm fine with it as long as it's like Amiibo and therefore not necessary.
Not necessary.
So I'm hopeful for that because I like Yoshi. I like Yoshi games. And that one looked neat last year. So I'm hopeful that it's going to be all right, but I'm not feeling good about the fact that it just up and disappeared this year. Was disappointed not to see Metroid Prime 4, and I thought we were going to see some new characters in Smash, but instead we just got every character that's ever been in Smash instead. So
remix. So let's just switch gears here. Let's just talk about the first big three: Microsoft, PlayStation, Nintendo. We'll start with Microsoft. That's where the first one kind of fell. I didn't get to watch the Microsoft one. To be quite honest, I was going to, and then I was like, I'm going to take a nap, and so I went, took a nap. So I did kind of look and see what was, some of their big things, and and I'm sure we're all going to have maybe the same answer here, but I didn't think that they in terms of a show, they always put on a pretty good press conference in terms of just how it looks and how they got it, paced. But I'm with Andrew, and like we said, we texted a little bit. It's just all that stuff I could get on my PS4. There really wasn't much that I could say that I really wanted that I would run out and buy an Xbox One for. Daniel, what did you feel the same way in that sense? In terms of a lot of third-party stuff, but that's not necessarily just for Xbox One.
Yeah, they had a great show. They showed off some cool things. In fact, I mean, they showed off a lot of Square Enix's best stuff, making Square Enix terrible, making their press conference terrible. But I'm sort of with you. I mean, if you're already invested in the Microsoft or the Xbox universe, there's some stuff here to like with Halo and let's see, is Crackdown an exclusive? I don't think so.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it is. So there's stuff to get excited about, but the biggest things obviously for me were some of the third party things like Cyberpunk. Yeah, like Cyberpunk.
Yes.
Finally got a trailer on that. Kingdom Hearts 3 actually got some new stuff to look at. So there was a lot to. I think the division looked pretty good. So there's a lot to. I mean, I thought they put on a good show, but I'm with you that there was nothing there that I'm going to buy an Xbox One for. Though granted, I don't think there's anything that could have showed that I would buy one because I don't. I'm sort of broke, but that's. But I mean, my hat's off to them. I thought they put off a good show, and they put some cool games. They showed cool games.
Aaron, do you think that Microsoft is hanging their hat on the fact, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but just to get your opinion on it, do you think they're hanging all these third-party games like, oh, but look, they're on Xbox One X, and they're going to look better? Do you think that's kind of what the crux was of them to be like, hey, these may be on the PS4 Pro, but they're going to look better on here?
Yeah, I think that I said this earlier today in our Destiny chat group, but Microsoft is doing what Microsoft knows best, and it's hardware. They don't have a first party lineup to, really shake a stick at. And so it's just got to be, look, we can make the games that everybody else is going to be playing on their respective consoles look better and perform better. So, and I think.
Wait, you wasn't stoked for the Pop Funko Gears of War game? I mean, let's just be quite honest. I was so stoked for that.
As someone who has still not bought his first Funko Pop, though I have looked many times at this point, I'm not that stoked about Gears of War and Funko Pop mashups here.
I bought more than what I wanted. Actually, me and Andrew has talked about Pop Funkos a lot during the week. I've bought my fair share, but I saw that and I was like, "This is ridiculous! Like this is just ridiculous." Expect that from Microsoft.
I had never bought any Funko Pops as of like 3 weeks ago, and since then I've bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I would like to say
0 to 8 in a couple weeks.
I'd like to say if I hadn't found the Portal Turret Funko Pop for you, you probably wouldn't have bought any of those.
I would have bought the Chewbacca one, but yeah, you get a lot of credit. You do get a lot of credit. Yes.
So the first, go ahead, Daniel.
I was going to say that the first one I bought was I don't have many. I have like 5 maybe, but the first one I bought was Aloy from Horizon.
Oh man, they got an Aloy.
Yes, and she was at Walmart, and they had her missed price, and she was $2.
Oh,
so I bought. They had 2 of them, and I bought both of them, and I got one in my I've got one in the box. I put one on my desk. So that's the first one I ever bought, and ever since then I've been like, what else can I find?
I would like to get the Aloy. I didn't know they had an Aloy. I have to check that one out. I'll have to get that one. I have the Turtles. I have the Power Rangers. A couple wrestlers. In the Mega Man ones. I kept myself to sets. So that's the ones that I have. Guys, so some of the exclusives I did kind of catch my eye. One of the ones was Ori and the Blind Forest. Of course, the first one was out on PC, And then, of course, it was an Xbox exclusive for quite some time. And then they released a second for the trailer. That game just looks gorgeous. It just looks really nice. Of course, Cuphead getting some expansion, which that's a cool looking game altogether. And of course, Battletoads. For any old school gamer, I was super stoked to hear. And I actually did catch I did watch that part of the conference and the big thing they put up with the orange, not the orange, but the purple wall that you hit during the speeder bike, the almost unbeatable speeder bike part. That's not even the hardest part of that game, but that whole game is just one big rock of hard. When it comes down to it, I thought that was a really cool announcement. They've teased it for years, but I thought it was really cool. And if I was Microsoft, like I'd find some way to get that out on some other consoles, because I think there's a big market for somebody to buy a Battletoads game. Obviously, it's not going to move consoles, but it'd be cool if they was like, hey, maybe we could put this on the Switch, or maybe we could do, work something out, because Minecraft is on the Switch, and stuff like that. But I wish it was on something. That's really the only thing that I gotta, as they say in the wrestling business, gotta pop out of that. I was like, oh man, look at Battletoads. So that was some of the things. Any of the exclusives for you guys, Andrew? Was there any exclusive that you looked at like, hey man, that'd be actually something I'd be interested in?
Exclusive? No,
there wasn't a lot. A lot of it was smaller stuff.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that they bought all those indie studios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was.
Cuphead. I would love to actually be able to play Cuphead.
God, it looks so awesome.
So having an expansion of Cuphead makes me even more jealous. That and Elite controllers are the two things I'm jealous of Xbox people for.
I'm surprised Sony hadn't put out something like an Elite controller yet.
Yeah, they've got those third-party versions, but I just don't trust it the same.
Anything for you, Aaron, as far as just maybe something third-party that popped out? No, not third-party. I'm sorry, first-party.
I'm kind of in the same boat as I would like to play Cuphead. I'm intrigued by Crackdown, but I've been in the camp that said Crackdown was just never coming out for a long time.
Sure.
And I'm intrigued by it. I think any game where you can play as Terry Crews is
right.
to be pretty fun. And I never played Ori, but Ori just looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm all for some eye candy when it comes to video games.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What about you, Daniel?
Are we just talking about Microsoft exclusives?
Yeah.
Nothing really stood out to me. Nothing.
Yeah, it was hard, man. I mean, it was hard to pick something out because, like we said, there was a lot of third-party stuff up there, and was kind of showing how pretty it looked on the Xbox One, but definitely not a lot that would move a console. And I think that's not just for us. I think it's if you have a PlayStation 4 and a Switch already, or just a PlayStation 4, there's not really much to jump over to in terms of exclusive. One big shocker, which I was not expecting, but maybe I should have because it's Microsoft, was the hint of new hardware coming out, and it was kind of not made like a big deal. It was just kind of laid in there. So it came on and said, not a huge shocker or anything. It's from Kotaku. But at the end of the show, Phil Spencer mentioned that Microsoft's hardware team is hard at work on a new Xbox. That was something that I wasn't expecting because the rumor heading into E3 that there'll be no talk of hardware. Sony wasn't going to talk about it. Microsoft wasn't going to talk about it. Switch won't talk about it, obviously, because they just barely a year old. Andrew, was you a bit shocked that they went ahead especially after last year with the announcement of the Slim and then the Xbox One? Was you kind of taken aback that they're like, oh, we're working on a new system?
I'll be honest. I'm ignoring basically all next-gen talk for at least another year because it's too early. Mm-hmm. I don't believe much of anything that anybody says, and I don't really want a new console right now, so I don't want them to exist, so I'm just going to close my ears and my eyes and pretend that they don't for at least another year. So, yeah, I was surprised, but I don't know. It almost seemed like maybe they were grasping at straws, like, oh yeah, we've got something coming out, and it's like you didn't need to. You had a good conference, like it was unnecessary. And if it's not coming out in a year, I don't really want to hear about it.
Right, Aaron, you talked about them being a hardware. Do you think that's just kind of their fallback? It's like, oh, we got all these cool games and they're all third party. Let's just talk about this new machine throwing it out there. Do you think, just like kind of Andrew said, it was kind of just a tack on to kind of just get a pop, I guess?
I 100% think so. And it's actually, this is the subject that brought that to the forefront of my brain. I was just thinking, they don't have anything.
Yeah.
They know that they have just third-party software and a couple, like, a small smattering of first parties. And so they're just going to do what they can with hardware and just be like, get hype. Here's another Xbox console. And I personally think it's a slap in the face for anybody that has an Xbox One, because they haven't put anything out on their console.
And especially in X.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too soon.
Now I think it kind of, and I felt this way. One of the systems I really felt that pushed the limit was the PS3. That they got all the way to The Last of Us and really pushed that hardware, and you could tell it's time for a new system. I don't think anybody has really, minus the innovation of the Switch, which is something completely different. But as far as the hardware, home consoles, I don't think either one of those guys are pushing their hardware all the way yet. And that's what upsets me as like a consumer and a gamer, is when you're like, we got this system out, we're not really pushing it a ton. We haven't really figured it out yet as far as getting it the best out of it. Oh, but we're talking about a new system all of a sudden.
Yeah. God of War is gorgeous. It's got a lot going on. And a couple of our friends were talking about how their PlayStations were running super loud on when it was running God of War, but I didn't notice that on mine, and mine is a launch edition.
I think it's according to what PlayStation you had. Brad Shoemaker from Giant Bomb talks about his being super loud too. And mine does that ever so often, but it doesn't do it for long periods of time.
I mean, it'll kick in. It used to kick in all the time on Rocket League of all things, but that was due to poor optimization from Rocket League people whose names I'm forgetting.
Psionics.
More so than actually pushing the limit of the PS4. So, especially in this case, when you've got Sony's first-party people who aren't even pushing it to the limit yet, it's like, it just doesn't feel like it's time. And again, I don't want it to be time, so I'm insisting that it's not.
Daniel, when do you think that we'll see serious talk, whether it be from Sony or Microsoft, not just some kind of throw out there line, that you'll see the next generation of consoles? You look at 2020, 2021. I mean, which one do you think is going to be within the next 2 years?
It's going to be sooner than we think. It's going to be sooner than we want. They're already. I took the Microsoft announcement to kind of be as a response to Sony's announcement. Well, it was a few weeks ago, and I guess it wasn't really an announcement, but I think Wario64 actually quoted it, and that's where I read it. But it was something along the lines of, I think it was a Japanese translation. It was something like, we're entering the end of PlayStation 4 life cycle, or something. We're reaching the tail end of the PlayStation 4 life cycle. I mean, that's kind of like a little tease, right? I mean, which is probably true. I don't think any of us are ready for a new console. I don't feel that I ever really am. But I think it's going to be. I think next year we're going to hear about it. I think both sides are going to have something ready to show, or at least ready to talk about it in depth. What year are we? 2018. But I think 2020. I think we're going to have a new system.
Yeah, I think they talk about it really heavily 2019, and then 2020 is when we start seeing some launch dates.
I'm okay with 2020, and what I would like to see, because I thought Sony did so well with it on PS4, was announce it in February, give a lot of details about it at E3, and then sell that bad boy in the fall. And you just have this 1 year of excitement built up for it, rather than 2 years of slow burn like we did with the Wii U.
Sure.
How did that work out? It wasn't the marketing, or that part of the marketing wasn't the problem for Wii U, I know, but I don't know. I just kind of like that faster pace instead of slow burning all these tiny little minute details out of it, and hearing all the rumors. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a cynical part of my life right now. Maybe it's a me problem. I don't know.
Well, let's move on to Sony for people that don't own Xbox.
Oh wait, no. I did want to say one more thing.
Yep.
Apparently, a friend of ours sent us some YouTube view info on like all the different trailers that have been released.
Yeah.
And anybody want to take a guess at what number one was when he sent that to us? Because I was surprised. It's a first-party game.
The Samurai game.
Nope.
Oh.
It's a Microsoft first-party game.
Oh. Battle
Halo. Halo.
Oh,
yeah. The screenshot of Battletoads got. But no, it's Halo, and that surprised me because I'm kind of like at some point. Well, in some ways, I'm kind of just like over it, you know.
Andrew Master Chief took off his helmet. We get to see what he looks like underneath.
Well, apparently, like people still care a whole lot about Halo.
Sure.
And I don't know if it's like just that kind of nostalgia thing. It probably, like Final Fantasy VII, or if it's something else.
Don't go there.
But whatever it is, it still carries a lot of weight. And I thought its weight had died down, and maybe it has. But being number one so far was a big deal to me. I thought I was impressed by that. So good job, Microsoft, on that one. Just wanted to get that in there because we were kind of negative.
Well, Halo 1 and 2 were two classics. I didn't play anything past 2, but it's got a legacy. That's really the only game that has a legacy for Microsoft if you want to get technical about it. But so let's move on to PlayStation. And Daniel, we'll go start off with you, man. How'd you feel? We already talked about the church stuff, which leave it. I mean, Sony's press conferences are always pretty ingenious. They kind of go the different way than Microsoft. Microsoft's more of the lights and the glam type of thing. But you look at Sony, and Sony's always been, they always kind of throw some weird stuff in there. The church thing was right on. The little musical interludes between the things I just found super entertaining. I'm not really for sure why, but I thought they was kind of entertaining. What do you, of course, all of us on the PlayStation here, what do you think about the conference, Daniel?
I didn't get to watch it all. I just saw mostly screenshots and small little like videos, but I think it'd been cool to been there to see that. I think that'd been pretty neat. But you even talk about the games?
Yeah. Talk about what you liked about them.
They showed off some cool things. I mean, I thought the Resident Evil remake, that's been rumored for a long time. That kind of looked cool. I didn't watch the Death Stranding because I don't really care about it. It's too confusing for me to care. Spider-Man looked awesome.
Oh, jeez.
I'm sure you'll get into that. But, of course, I'm just putting off to talk about the coolest thing of the night, which was The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, Naughty Dog has been sort of on the forefront of motion capture and their technological advancements for games for the last few years, and that trailer was awesome. I mean, the tech was there. It looked great. The actual gameplay trailer looked really cool. Though it was heavily like scripted, obviously, but it was really cool. And like, I mean, I've watched that trailer several times, and like that kiss scene is like the best kiss I've ever seen in a video game ever.
Sure.
Like, yeah. It should like it just, I've gone from playing Mass Effect, which I've already talked about is pretty clunky, but I think one of the guys from Kotaku put it best, where it's like most games that have people kissing look like two microwaves bumping up against each other, and it's absolutely true. So to see that tech get put on full display and it looked that good, man, that gets me excited. It gets me so excited about that game. And it's not even a release date yet. It probably won't even be out till 2020. But it was really cool. And I thought that the way they showed, the way they broke up the cinematic with the fight in the middle, and then it comes back and she's like, "See, everyone thinks you're dangerous," or I can't remember exactly how it is, but it's just like, oh, that's just cool. It's just really cool.
Aaron, what'd you think?
It was unbelievable how cinematic at least that part of it was.
Aaron, we'll just go ahead and talk about The Last of Us. I think that's the biggest part of that conference. Even though Sony's conference had a lot of really good stuff in it. What do you think about The Last of Us 2? We got obviously last E3, and even with the I guess their little Sony experience thing, we got a little bit more, but this was really the first time we saw a cinematic coupled with gameplay. How did you think about when it popped up, and give you goosebumps or anything like that?
Well, first off, Sony's presentation of it with the church scene, I just think it needs to be reiterated, and we could just do it over and over and over again. That was just blew my mind. And I was like, this is a really cool way to show this trailer and do this gameplay reveal. I thought cinematic wise for the rendered stuff that it looks fantastic. But really the meat and potatoes of this one was the gameplay stuff. And Daniel touched on the mocap stuff. There was that one part where Ellie is underneath that vehicle, and you just see really only legs of these people who are searching for her, but there's so much expression in the way those legs are moving. You can just see it, and it's just was phenomenal. The little things like getting hit by bullets and like actually seeing the shoulder like ricochet back, or actually knocking her to the ground. Naughty Dog's just on another level. And while it's super scripted, I'm really hoping that when it comes time that we have the agency to be doing these things, that it still feels that way.
Yeah.
Daniel, what do you think about it?
You mean Andrew?
Oh, I'm sorry, Andrew.
I was just gonna let it go. It's like I thought maybe I was thinking Daniel probably has more to say about it. He could just answer for me. I mean, I don't have really much more to add. Like that's a good point Aaron made about the legs, because I wasn't paying close enough attention. But then you mentioned it, and I'm like, actually, yeah, that's a very good way of putting it. Like most gaming walking is wonky. Like they, I don't know. They normally kind of look like they're strutting or something weird, but no, you're right. Like it just looked fluid and natural. I had to watch that one without the sound, so I can't say a whole lot more. It did feel like that kiss scene went on for a really long time with no sound. Because I'm assuming there was music or something playing, which kind of makes that time pass a little more. But I was like, I just kept looking down because I know I was doing this with you guys tonight, so I was doing something with Jesse, but I had that on for research purposes. But that's why I was watching without sound. We were watching the Mindy Project. And so I kept looking down, and I would look up and watch, and I would look back down. I was like, man, this is going on forever. But it was because I kept expecting something different, not because it was not for any other reason, of course. Anyway, that's the funny little anecdote I have about it. It looked awesome. I'm actually more excited for Spider-Man. And I will say one thing about Death Stranding, because that
I want to talk about Death Stranding a little bit more.
Okay.
Before we go, because I absolutely love that trailer. I loved everything about that. It was so awesome.
Well, I only have one thing to say about it, because it continues to be a game made for people that are weirder than me. Like I don't understand.
Or more intellectual.
What's going on? Okay. No, that's not it. I can assure you that's not it. So weird is the right word.
The Last of Us 2 was awesome looking. I love, it's just not in a world of so many open world stuff where the bigger the world, the better. Naughty Dog creates these games with a narrative that you don't mind not to go everywhere in the world. Like you want to stay within whatever world or parameters that they build for you, because you want to keep kind of the little bit of the mystique of that world. And so it definitely did the job of kind of expanding out, what the next step is for this game. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the last one, maybe they do a third one. I don't know, but I think we can all agree it's Naughty Dog at its best, again, which is what we expect. Spider-Man, on the other hand, no intestines leaking out of people. I thought Spider-Man was awesome. And it was everything that I thought it was going to be. The combat looks a lot like the Arkham series, which I know gets a little bit of a, I guess, hated on now, but that Arkham series combat I always loved. It was so fluid and so fun.
Who hates that?
Do what?
Who hates that style of combat?
Man, everybody on Giant Bomb hates that style of combat. Like, I think because there was just so much of it and everybody was copying it.
You guys need to find cooler podcasters.
But that combat was so fluid, and I always felt like, even though Batman can do stuff like that, I always felt like if it was almost like I was playing Spider-Man in a Batman suit, like the flips and him jumping around real quick and doing some stuff. I always thought that was
even flying around Arkham City.
Yeah, exactly. It felt like more of a Spider-Man game than a Batman game. And so to finally have that type of game for my favorite superhero, and it fits him so well. And one of the things I was really excited about was how he uses the environment. He can throw a web and pull it right in the middle of combat and hit somebody up against the wall with a heavy tanker or something. I mean, it's really awesome. The story looks very comic booky. I mean, it's not good. It's definitely not something that's going to break the mold as far as story wise. But man, that game is everything so far, and everything that I've read about it's so smooth. It's the action's right there, and that's everything you want in a Spider-Man game. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Daniel, what do you think about Spider-Man and what you saw at the press conference?
I didn't get to watch a whole lot of it, but I mean, it did look very cool. I mostly read impressions, and everyone was saying about how fluid it felt, and you know, my question was going to be would it feel good to? I mean, the fighting is going to be there, but would it feel good to swing from the skyscrapers? And it seems like they were getting that right from the impressions that I was reading. Like they were. It was really. It was good. It did feel very natural. It did feel very fluid.
Andrew, what do you think about Spider-Man overall? I think the swinging, like Daniel said, that was my. Because anytime any of the past games, it felt very kind of, I'm just going to shoot a web and I'm going to shoot a web, and it didn't feel like he was swinging around and really using his powers to, sling himself around a building versus kind of just changing direction. So I'm glad that's working out. What do you think about the Spider-Man stuff?
So that is true for most Spider-Man games, but you want to know what Spider-Man game got it right? One of my favorite games on Xbox 360, which was Spider-Man 2.
I've never played Spider-Man 2.
And based on the movie Spider-Man 2.
Right.
It was wonderful. It was such a good game. It's probably not good to go back to, I imagine, but it was open world. You swung around New York City. Like, that was one of my favorite Xbox 360 games, was Spider-Man 2. So, from what I can tell, from what people are saying, it's kind of getting back to that free flow style of swinging around. Which I like Spider-Man 3 too, and a lot of people didn't. So maybe I'm not a great resource on this, but Spider-Man 2, I think, actually did review pretty well. So
it's around 7s. Yeah, most of Universal around 7s. Yeah.
I thought it was better. Anyway, I really liked it. And it was, like I said, it was one of my favorite games on 360. So I've been excited about this, especially hearing everything that everyone's saying, that that's kind of got that fluidity back to it. Of course, we know the combat system, if it is going to be kind of that Arkham style, is going to be fluid, because that entire combat system is kind of based in fluidity. Right. That's the whole point of it. So if we're getting all that, I'm here for it. I'm ready. I think that is the first party game that I'm most excited about that we've seen at E3 period. Like, of all of them, even Last of Us 2, even Super Smash Bros., which we haven't talked about yet. Like, of everything, I think Spider-Man is what I'm most looking forward to.
Aaron, did you think that they gave a pretty good chunk? I mean, we've seen some combat stuff. I think last E3 or during the PlayStation experience that they have, they showed the rooftop type of battle, and that was pretty much about it before the guy flew off in the helicopter. Was you, and this is maybe for the Sony press conference overall, they gave a pretty good chunk of that game. I mean, that was a pretty good 10-minute run, or it seemed like it was long like that. Was you surprised that we got that much of gameplay where it was battle? You had the chase scene. It's a pretty good chunk of play. Was you surprised that they gave that much away?
Actually, I kind of thought that was a pretty appropriate amount of stuff for that game to be this soon to release.
Sure.
That's our first party that's next up on the docket that everyone's probably looking forward to. It's not holiday, but it's kind of pre-holiday. Go ahead and get it all out on the table. Give everybody a chance to see what this game is made out of. They had the people post conference proper. They were out there on the plaza playing Spider-Man, getting their hands on it for a lot of good. E3's ripe with people getting hands-on treatment, but this was like sort of general public. I don't know if you can call it general public, but enough people to get some good opinions out there to build that hype machine for this game. And I think it looks fantastic. And as someone who just finally played Arkham Asylum February, beat it and loved it, I'm ready for more of this combat style. I know some people are tired of it with Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor kind of copying the same stuff. I'm ready for it. Bring it on.
It's just so fluid and fun. It doesn't feel stilted. It doesn't feel like you even have to change directions a lot of times. You can just do it fast and fluid. And I always thought it was super fun. Like I said, Aaron, I know a lot of games have kind of copied it over, but I think if you could take something and make it even better, and from what Spider-Man looks like, they've added some stuff to make it even better. Daniel, question, and kind of alluded to before, Sony kind of did the opposite of what Microsoft did. Sony stuff was pretty much almost all first party.
Hey, wait, I have a Spider-Man question.
Go ahead,
move on. And it's for you specifically because you're the Spider-Man guy. So who do you think Spidey was looking up to, after he gets popped by Scorpion and they're kind of like beating him up, and he looks up and he's like, "It was you." Who do you think he was talking to?
I have no clue. I think, in the context of the story, it's the girl that runs off in the helicopter. Maybe kind of like a double cross there. Good old fashioned wrestling double cross. I don't. I can't think of, unless it's Osborn. Obviously, I think we've never really seen at least the comic book version of the Green Goblin in video games. So it could very well be. So it's obviously someone. I don't think it's going to be someone that obvious. It's just going to be someone. Oh wow, that's pretty good curveball. And I hope it's what it is because I have no clue. And my thought process is if it's somebody established like a Harry Osborn or someone like that, I think it takes a little bit of it out. And I think in order for this game to be really reviewed, especially for Spider-Man fans, you're going to have to throw out at least some originality in terms of the storyline. So it'd be cool if they did bring somebody back from the past, or maybe someone.
I have the perfect idea for you then.
What's
the perfect Spider-Man character to fulfill all the things that you just said.
Okay.
J. Jonah Jameson.
I was thinking Nick Fury, but that
played by J.K. Simmons.
That would be pretty awesome.
Quintessential.
That would be almost too awesome. It'd almost be
those movies get a lot of hate, but man, he was so perfect as J. Jonah
Spider-Man
Jameson.
2 is the perfect Spider-Man movie. I'm still died on that hill.
Well, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you on that. But I had a joke, and then you set up your answer. I was like, actually, that sounds perfect.
It's all in the context of what you see in that scene. Everybody has new tech, so it could very well be like Dr. Octopus. Kind of a techie guy could do that. It could be for a while Tony Stark was a bad guy for a while. It'd be cool to be like, oh, hey, this is messed up Tony Stark doing all that, which would be pretty, or maybe like an alternate version of Tony Stark. But obviously it's someone smart, someone that can work with machines. So I don't know who it is, but it's going to be interesting to find out. So moving on to just the press conference as a whole, they kind of did the opposite of what Microsoft did. They had a lot of first-party stuff up there in terms of that. They didn't have a ton. They had RE2. They had Kingdom Hearts. They had some Call of Duty stuff up there. But those are really the only third-party that I can remember kind of sticking out. All the rest of it was first-party. Daniel, was you – after the press conference, I was kind of surprised at how much – opposite they were from Microsoft in terms of really pounding home, hey, these are just games for Sony, and they had a pretty impressive lineup.
Yeah, they did a good job. As far as that's their strong suit, is showing off their first party titles, so of course they're going to do that. I was a little surprised. They didn't show off a whole lot though. Really, they mostly concentrated on just a few games. Didn't really have a huge press conference like we've seen in the past. Of course, I guess they were kind of advertising that to begin with, that they weren't going to have this huge press conference. Just going to concentrate on the big games, the big games they're working on. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Okay. The other thing that I thought was kind of refreshing, and we talked about, I know there's a lot of criticism on Twitter overall about E3 in terms of more big reveals, but I really enjoyed, especially in Sony's press conference, they gave us so much gameplay, and they kind of delivered on games they've promised the last couple years with big CGI, big promises that this is in-game footage or whatever. But I thought Andrew, that they really delivered in terms of, hey, we promised this a couple years ago. Here's Spider-Man. Here's 10 minutes. Here's the last stuff is in action. I thought they did a tremendous job of just giving us gameplay for games we're super excited about, and really got me more excited because we saw them in action.
Yeah. This is what? Spider-Man's 33?
Yep.
Last of Us is second, I think.
Second plus the PlayStation experience, so 3 conferences, yeah.
All right. Well, 2 years, and we'll get it one more time, I imagine, because it's hard to imagine it not being at E3 next year, like being out before E3 next year, basically. So, 3. You sure don't want to see it 4, and I do kind of feel like 3 is maybe too many.
Maybe it'll be on PlayStation 5, Andrew.
But they did see. Maybe it'll be the send off for PS4 that Last of Us 1 was for PS3. I'd be okay with that. They got a lot of criticism 2-3 years ago for announcing games or putting games out there that were not close to ready, obviously, because this doesn't come out. So on the one hand, it's refreshing that they're not doing that now. On the other hand, it's not refreshing in that we've seen the same set of 4 or 5 games for 3 or 4 years now. But they kind of they tied their hands with that, because if you're revealing those games 3 E3s ago, but they're still not out, you've got to show them. So
right.
I don't know. I talked around the question and forgot it, which I'm bad to do, so I apologize. But,
Aaron will bring us back home. Aaron, did you think that? Now Andrew's talking. Now I can't. Now
I remember it. So
okay, go ahead.
So it was refreshing to see these games that are actually coming out now. Are what the focus was. You actually get to see the gameplay. You actually get to see. I thought that was actually a very strong thing from Sony, because it's clear that Microsoft went after a lot of these third-party games, especially these bigger name third-party games, to get them at their conference, which means Sony can't get them. So then Sony has to kind of pivot. They don't have a bunch of games that they can show because they don't want to do what they did a few years ago and be criticized for showing games that aren't coming out for 5 years. So they did what I think they came up with a good solution for that, which is to give a lot of detail on their big things that they have coming. And I thought that was a nice pivot from given their problem, given the situation as it was. I thought that was a good way to kind of handle that issue, I guess, was to give us a lot of detail.
I just thought it was, and Aaron, maybe you can comment on this as well. I just thought it was very refreshing, instead of a bunch of crazy reveals and all these just for like crowd reactions, to actually see those games gave me more of a reaction. Aaron, did you feel the same way? That you'd rather see that gameplay versus this screen that pops up says, I don't know, whatever old game they're bringing back or whatever. Did you feel like that was more? It's kind of a change, like Andrew said, but I actually thought it was a much better change. I don't know how you felt about it, because there wasn't a lot of big reveals, and that's what we're used to at E3's reveals. And I thought it was just a very kind of refreshing take.
Yeah, I like the reveals, just like most everybody does, because that's the beginning of the hype train for whatever it is. But for me, I'd much rather see those like cordoned off to PSX, where it's a celebration of all things coming and all things that are already there. Let E3 be kind of this deep dive into what we should be expecting to see, or what everyone's excited about.
Giant commercial.
We know, give me that big Super Bowl commercial and do it like for 4 to 5 different games, and I'm fine with it. The little smattering of like small games that we saw in between, I thought those were nice to help break up, those long form pieces, but give me the deep dives. I was good with it.
One of the games that surprised me, because I had even forgot they had announced it at the PSX experience, was the let me see if I get the name of it right. I got it in my notes here. Let's see. And it was one of my favorite games that come out. It was Ghost of Tsushima. That game looked awesome, and I had totally forgot that they had announced that. But man, that was right down my alley. They opened that up, and I thought, "What in the world? I don't even remember this even being announced." And when he was running through that field of wheat, it was right out of a Kurosawa film. Like, it was just, holy cow! This is awesome, and I hadn't really seen it. Andrew, did you? I don't know if Dan, you said you didn't watch much of it. Did any of you guys see the trailer?
Yeah, I forgot about it.
Yeah, I saw it.
I just thought it's different. It's something we haven't seen before. And man, in the combat where it kind of goes into that one-on-one kind of parry kind of deal, That was one of my favorites. Not only a surprise, but just overall favorite games that I
was
to the conference.
I was into it, but it looked Soulsy, and that scares me because I can't do Souls games. So I've tried them, I suck at them. I have moved on from them.
Man, what a gamer you are! Jeez,
I'm comfortable with who I am. You want to come? You want to play a puzzle game with me? Let's go.
So we'll just move into since I've kind of gushed about that. Was there any surprises of any of the press conferences for you guys? Maybe a game that kind of popped up that thought, that was mine for me. I thought that was just a surprise and a half because I really didn't. I totally forgot about it and I didn't expect to see that, and it worked really well. Aaron, was there any surprises throughout the conference, whether it be EA's or one of the hardware guys? Was there any surprises there for you?
It's maybe not a super positive surprise. But my biggest surprise probably would have been the Elder Scrolls 6 reveal that was basically a landscape and a logo.
Classic reveal, E3, right?
It was the most unnecessary reveal. I know that everyone is all on Bethesda's, backs about give us more Elder Scrolls. We've been playing Skyrim on every device, which that part of that was hilarious. But it's just, if it's going to be a next generation title and all you can give me is a landscape and a logo, I don't want it. I felt like that was just like the most throwaway, here's your Elder Scrolls, shut up. That was my biggest surprise because I didn't think Bethesda would kind of do that. But now that I'm seen it, I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm kind of excited, but screw you.
Andrew, what about you?
It's funny you say that because Nintendo pulled the same business with Breath of the Wild, and it totally worked for them. People were so out of their mind, and people are out of their mind crazy for Elder Scrolls too. So it's funny to me that it worked for Nintendo and Zelda, but I mean, you're absolutely right. Like that did not do anything for me from Bethesda. Like it just didn't. So I don't know. That's funny to me that it totally worked for Nintendo, but did not work for Bethesda.
I guess I count. I guess I count Bethesda out for sponsorship for the show. So.
Sorry, guys.
Nuts. I was actually more excited for Starfield because I like sci-fi more than fantasy, and I'm assuming it's basically Starfield is going to be Elder Scrolls but in space. So sign me up for that.
And that's pretty much confirmed for next gen. Like it's not even
from the way they made it sound. Yeah, like they're not even going to try. So hey, maybe I am excited for PS5.
There's a silver lining.
Everything's turning up faults now. So overall surprise. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. I was surprised not to see any FF7 remake stuff. And
would you say I was surprised that Square Enix even showed up? Mm-hmm. Like it was just, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, why do you even have a press conference? Like, that was one of the ones I was super stoked about because they usually have some pretty good reveals and stuff. I was like, the first thing I saw on Kotaku on Twitter was Square Enix sucks. Square Enix press conference sucked. And I was like, well,
when your flagship game is Kingdom Hearts 3, that's not a great start.
That's true. That's
and then
speaking of 4 years in the making.
And then when you decide to show it on Microsoft stage and Sony stage, that's an extra not great sign.
You save your money, not do a press conference.
Don't do a press conference. Like, and then you put Tomb Raider on Microsoft, which I mean, Ubisoft does that, but they find a way to make it work, and Square did not.
Nope.
And maybe it's a learning process for them because they're new to these conferences, right? They didn't.
They haven't done. I think the first one was just like a couple of years ago. I think.
So they're new to it. Microsoft had sucked at it for a couple of years, but they've kind of come around and figured out a way to make it work. Ubi did some weird stuff in like 2010, 2011. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google Mr. Caffeine at the Ubisoft press conference because that guy was a piece of work. But they've kind of found, so maybe they just need a few years to find their footing and figure it out. And they probably need a few more games.
That's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, but it's surprising to me that they didn't have Octopath Traveler at their own conference, and then Nintendo barely said anything about it today. It'll probably show up at a Treehouse Live thing somewhere through the week, but that sure seems like a game on a major console that's exclusive to that major console that you probably want to pimp out a little, and they didn't do it, and Nintendo barely did it. So that was surprising. I'm trying to think of a game that I was like excited for that surprised me, and I'm coming up empty. Oh, you know what? Assassin's Creed Odyssey is looking pretty good. And I'm an Assassin's Creed fan. I bought Origins, but I haven't played it. But the stuff they're doing with introducing some dialogue trees and choice and that kind of stuff, I'm interested in it because that series, they still need to give it a longer break than they did, that 1 year break, but they are injecting some new life into it, finding ways to change it. It's come a very long way from Assassin's Creed 1, and it's even come quite a long way from 2, and 3 was horrible. But it's kind of refreshing to see that. So I'll give that my pleasant surprise, is that they're finding ways to change a game that in some ways didn't need change because it's really good, but they've also been doing the same thing for so long that it did need some change. So I'll give it to that.
Daniel, what about you? Any surprises for you in terms of game wise?
Well, I was gonna say Assassin's Creed Odyssey too. I was surprised by all RPG. You already touched on that. I saw, and that was all the announcements by Limited Run Games.
I was going to talk about that. Yeah, that was one of my favorite things. Yeah, most definitely.
They put out, they announced all kinds of games for the Switch and Vita that they're going to be putting out over the next 6 months, and got me really excited. A couple of those I'd actually been waiting on. Like I'd made a point not to purchase digitally because I was going to see if they put them out or when they would put them out. So,
Dave, let's run through those just right quick, just to kind of. And if you don't know what Limited Run, Dave did a pretty good job of explaining it. They basically run these deals where they do a very limited version of digital only games and physical. I love them to death. As a physical guy, I like to have games on the shelf. I think they're pretty awesome. They had a bunch of announcements, but for Nintendo Switch, they got Golf Story, Yooka-Laylee, Night Trap, Thumper, Cosmic Star Heroine, which is digital only. They're not going to do a physical one yet of that. Dust, to be decided in Layers of Fear. PlayStation 4, The House in Fata Morgana, Salt and Sanctuary, which has been really requested. Phantom Breaker, Spelunky, Iconoclast, Exiles in, Observer, and Thumper. And then for Vita, mostly pretty much all those PS4 that I mentioned, plus Phantom Breaker, VA-11, Hala, I guess Valhalla is what they're looking for there. Read Only Memories 2064, Exiles in, and Sarah and Kagura Bon Appetit full course. All those are going to get physical releases in there. But yeah, I was pretty stoked, man. Like there's some in there. I'm going to try to get Golf Story because I like the game. I like to have a physical copy of that. Was pretty stoked for pretty much everything that they announced. If you don't go follow them on Twitter, they're a great follow. And but I'm with you, Daniel. That was spot on. I was really surprised with where they've come from going from a couple games a year to now they're releasing 6 or 7 games a year. I actually ordered my first ones. I got Flint Hook and Mercenary Kings physically coming in August. Those were my first purchases from them guys. But I just think it's pretty awesome. Whether you're a collector or you just want a physical copy of your favorite indie game, I think it works out really well.
I've been watching them for a while, but it seems like I always have the game, whenever they come through. So I'm looking forward to. I guess it's pronounced Valhalla.
I'm guessing that's how it's pronounced.
Random Access Memories, The House of Fata Morgana. I'm looking forward to that. And Cosmic Star Heroine. That game is coming to Switch. They're bringing it to Switch, and I recommend that game to you guys. It's got a very Chrono Trigger lunar vibe. I actually just got the platinum in that this weekend, and it was a lot of fun.
And if you like those Metroidvania type of games, Dust is an awesome game for that. One of the best reviewed in that type of genre. Really good stuff, and I'm super stoked to see that as well. But Daniel, I was right on. I actually had it on as my number one favorite of of the whole conference. Was seeing all those releases during their conference. I thought it was pretty cool. So, let's touch on. We haven't really touched on Nintendo at all yet.
That's how unremarkable it was.
So Nintendo was pretty much all Smash all the time. There were some other things in there that they kind of put in. A new Mario Party. I like Mario Party myself. I know I seems to be in the minority on that, but I thought that was a pretty cool release from those guys. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 gets some DLC. I mean, it's already a long game. So Fire Emblem, the Three Houses was shown for next spring. Of course, Fortnite was announced, which was a big one. Hollow Knight was put out today or Tuesday if you're keeping count, and I was super stoked for that because that game looks really awesome. But yeah, Andrew, mostly Smash was what we got for that one. I guess what's your take on their conference? They didn't really touch on Metroid, no super big reveals, almost a very Sony type stuff in terms of just kind of touching on games that we know are coming out, get a little bit more gameplay of some things. What did you think about them as a whole? We texted back and forth, but what did you think about once you kind of had a couple hours to kind of think about it?
Super excited for Ridley to come to Smash. Like, if that's the only new character, I'm all right with it. That's one that a lot of people, a lot of Smash fans, especially and Metroid fans, have been pining for. And I'm not really sure why, other than he looks awesome. You know, He's basically a pterodactyl, which when has a pterodactyl not been awesome? So that's pretty exciting. I mean, it was lackluster. There just wasn't a lot. One thing about Fortnite, which was available as soon as the conference was over, is I saw today that you can just use party chat through the aux cable. So you just plug in and your mic just works without all that hinky app stuff that, like, you have to use your smartphone and do all that stupid stuff, and it's like, what are you doing?
That Nintendo thing.
What are you doing? Like, it works. It works on your system, and you're making people do this stupid stuff for no reason. Anyway, I'm very excited.
Another issue with Fortnite is that if you signed on with your account on PS4, you cannot use that same account on your Switch.
I just saw that. Yeah,
that
I didn't
was
read it. But
people's giving Sony a lot of crap over that, which they rightfully so. So
Sony deserves it. Yeah, they don't deserve a lot of criticism this gen, but that's their fear of cross-platform play is certainly one of them. I'm very excited for, and I know this really isn't much of a surprise, Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is a weird name. Not that Fire Emblem has ever had a not weird name, really, but Fire Emblem Three Houses, because as regular podcast listeners know, I'm quite the avid Fire Emblem Heroes player. And so this is the first Fire Emblem game, other than there was one that came out last year for 3DS, but I wasn't quite as into Heroes at the time. So I'm very excited. This is the first game since I've been like diehard Heroes fan to come out in that series since then. And so I'm very excited for that. But other than that, there just wasn't a lot, and I was disappointed. I don't care about Mario Party. I missed another new Smash character, Daisy. So I assume she'll play exactly as Peach does. And
yeah, they have these something called Shadow or something like that, mirror characters that they talked about, where they play very similar but have different tweaks to them. So
like Dr. Mario and Mario, which those have changed over the years. But in Melee, they played almost exactly the same, except regular Mario's cape did one thing and Dr. Mario's lab coat did another, but they were basically the same. So,
well, Daniel needs to jump off, and
I gotta go, guys.
He needs to get to bed. He's got criminals to put away. So thanks for jumping on, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.
See you.
Bye.
See you, Daniel.
Nintendo wise, Fire Emblem looked really good. It does look. It is strange to see a Fire Emblem on an actual console, not just in like a little screen. Somebody wrote an article about how cool it was to see these epic battles kind of play out on an actual bigger screen and not a cell phone screen or a DS screen, which I thought was I think got me pretty stoked about it. And those games usually have permadeath. I very seriously doubt this one will have permadeath on there. Kind of like the last couple have it, but it's got me pretty excited. I'm not a strategy guy. I actually really suck at strategy RPGs, but that looks pretty cool. They showed a little bit more of Mega Man 11, which is pretty cool. They were the only conference I think that showed a little bit more footage of Mega Man 11, and I'm a huge fan of Mega Man. So to have that popping out, I thought was getting a little bit more look at that as well. But Daniel, well, let's ask Aaron. Is Aaron? I don't know if you watched it. I'm sure you read up on it. Was there anything
it would be hard to ask Daniel right now.
Yeah, Daniel's gone.
It's the second time.
Let me ask the
second time you've done that to me.
I just, you guys start talking about that platinum stuff, and you guys kind of meld together. Like I said, Dandrew, man, you just kind of come together in one collective.
It's been a while since we heard that one.
It is, yeah. Aaron, as a non-Switch owner, I know I'm kind of picking you out here. You're kind of the odd man out here. Was there anything at this press conference or anything in the last year that the Switch has been out? Did this conference do anything? Is there anything that really wants you to kind of come in and get a Switch at this point?
Well, I mean, I definitely openly would like to have a Switch. It's just a matter of, can I prioritize that money versus PlayStation games? And PlayStation win. But I mean, I was pretty excited to see another Fire Emblem game because I also enjoyed Fire Emblem Heroes, although I did finally fall off of it and swear off of it. And I don't know. I've never played Smash, so it doesn't necessarily excite me. But I would love to play the Zelda and Super Mario Odyssey. I will say maybe the most exciting thing for me about Nintendo's press conference was learning that they're going to have Super Mario Party, just so that I can watch Giant Bomb do their Super Mario Party stream and see Dan Reichert. So there was a screenshot of Dan with his arms just in the air in extreme jubilance over that game, while the rest of the entire Giant Bomb panel was just in misery because they hated so much. That's the most exciting thing Nintendo had for me. But I'd love to buy a Switch for a number of games that they've got at this point.
Dan Reicher's Twitter went from Mario Party to where's Waluigi and Smash, which I thought was a very it was a pretty good little roller coaster ride of emotions for Dan Reicher during that press conference. Andrew, I mean, we talked about Fire Emblem. I mean, we kind of text back and forth, and even though we was a bit disappointed, I was pretty stoked for Hollow Knight to come out. That game was announced right when the Switch came out, and I was super stoked to have that out, which I'll probably pick that up sometime tomorrow. But Smash was kind of their thing, and I know a lot of people were a little bit disappointed with the Metroid. There's really not even talking about Metroid Prime. That tells me it's still super early in the stages in terms of what they're looking at. My view was I would rather them concentrate on a game that's going to come out and get really hyped about that instead of doing like kind of what Bethesda did. Nintendo did the same thing last year with Metroid Prime, where they just kind of flash up, a sign and say, "Oh, it's coming, it's in development." So even though I would like to hear a little bit more from it, I was kind of okay that we didn't hear it because if they don't have nothing, they just don't have nothing.
Yeah. But they didn't have anything. That's the problem.
Well, you could tell this was their Smash.
I agree with that. This was their
Smash thing. I mean, this was their Smash showcase. Mm-hmm. That's what they did. And I thought they split it up pretty good with the first part and then into Smash. But I was expecting something else at the end. I didn't get it. I think that was it. It's like, was it over? That's all. So I think that was the disappointing part to me because the direct was pretty cool all around. There's some cool stuff there. But just to have the last 25 minutes of that thing was probably Smash. And even though they touched on
a lot of Smash,
and even though they touched on a bunch of stuff, it's Smash. So unless you're doing like a story mode that everybody kind of wants to bring back from the GameCube version,
give me that Subspace Emissary.
Yeah. It's just Smash. We know what Smash is. So besides the characters, it was like they kind of took it and tried to, I guess, try to make it more interesting than what it really was. I guess in their kind of showcase for that game.
So I'm looking back real quick to see what they did last year because this seems like a familiar talking point, but it looks like they actually did announce quite a bit of stuff last year. So
yeah, there was Yoshi on there. I know that
because I was thinking that they like focused a lot on Mario, but they didn't. So, oh well. Anyway, what was your question? I'm sorry. I got lost.
I was just talking about Smash. Yeah, just being kind of
doing a bad job.
Yeah, because I mean, looking at everything that they kind of put out, Now, obviously, we can talk about the roster. The biggest roster, every character that's ever been in Smash is going to be in there. In terms of that, but other than that, even some of their indie stuff, I was a little bit disappointed with some of their indie announcements. Usually, as good as indies has been with them, I was expecting maybe a little bit more here or there in terms of what's coming down our way.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Microsoft's eating up the indies right now.
They're doing a great job, and their indies are very different than everything else. Like, they look different and they feel different than most indies coming out on the other systems, which is something they've really kind of improved on to do that. But yeah, I mean, look, they didn't announce much, but it was, there's still a lot coming out for the Switch this year that I'm pretty stoked for too.
Yeah, so we missed something big though on Nintendo, and I forgot about it too, which is my fault. I'm the resident Pokemon master. But the Pokemon Let's Go games, Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. And let me just tell you, am I not excited about those games? And I don't know if I'm going to get worked up enough or not. We'll see where this goes. But I just don't understand the logic. Like, why does Nintendo, why does Game Freak, whoever's made these decisions, why do they think that the capturing mechanic in Pokemon Go is the reason that people play Pokemon Go? Have you played a little bit of Pokemon Go, right? It's the stupidest mechanic there is. You just flip your finger. And so now you're going to flip a Joy-Con like it's a Wii game. Like it's a trash Wii game, basically, is what we're going to do. And you're wasting like high-res HD, like super HD remake of your most famous original Kanto region, red, blue, yellow games for a crap shell of itself that I can't even wrap my mind around it. Like, half of the fun of Pokemon is finding these Pokemon and weakening them and having that teetering on that line between knocking it out and trying to capture it, accidentally burning it, and then hoping that you capture it before it just, burns out its health. And I just, they're taking all of that away. And so now you're going to walk around and just flip your Joy-Con and catch it or not catch it. I don't understand what they're doing.
Well,
I really don't. And it's not. Thankfully, it's not replacing proper Pokemon as a series. But oh my God, if they take that mechanic out altogether in the new one next year, I'm going to be so disappointed.
I don't think that they're going to do that for the new one. I
don't think so either. But man, if they do,
I think they're trying to reach a certain section of people that do like the Pokemon. I mean, that was a huge game and still has a pretty good.
Yeah, but it's not popular because of the catching mechanic, which is what they're trying to act like.
Around in real life, and you see Pokemon in front of you, and you walk around and have a good time with your friends.
Because of nostalgia.
Well, that's true, but I thought walking around in real life and catching Pokemon was pretty cool,
Yeah, it was for a minute, but I mean, people got into it because it was like this throwback to their childhood, and they remembered catching those Pokemon before, and you could have done all that with your regular catching mechanic, and nobody would have cared. It wouldn't have bothered the soul. I'm really good at those curveballs, okay, but that's not the point.
So let me get this straight. You're not going to buy the little Pokeball peripheral, right?
No, I'm not. I almost Wario64, who, by the way, is he the most famous person in gaming not named Shigeru Miyamoto? Is he number 2? Right below.
Top 3 at least.
Number 3. Yeah. Kojima's more famous. He's up there. Anyway, right before the podcast, he had tweeted that there was a price error on Amazon where you could get the Pokeball bundle and the game, which is $99 retail, for the Amazon Prime discount price of $47.99. I was like,
whoa.
Oh. And then for 1, it was already dead by the time I got to it. But for 2, I was like, I don't even want to spend $48 on that.
Jeez, whoa. Andrew's setting fire to Pokemon, man. Speaking of burning stuff up.
This should have been a cash cow. This should have been the Final Fantasy VIII remake for Square Enix. In case of emergency, remake Final Fantasy VIII. And they blew it. Well, maybe I shouldn't say they blew it. But I'm overstating it. But
you just pulling at my heartstrings because I could care so less about Final Fantasy VII. Please cancel that stupid remake and give me Final Fantasy VIII. That's such a better game.
So much hate for Final Fantasy VII.
I love 8. Just Squall and Gunblades, just give it to me. Final Fantasy VII, nah, take your little machine gun arm and go.
Hey, don't make fun of that machine gun arm. It'll take you down. It's an arm with a machine gun on the end of it. What more do you want?
Gunblades. Gunblades.
I want to talk about Death Stranding for just a second because we didn't talk about it. That game is.
I guess I killed the Nintendo conversation.
Yeah, it's
Pokemon rant.
It's bleeding. It's bleeding and twitching over there in the corner because of Andrew.
It deserves it.
Oh man, you were hot on this, man. I don't think I've ever heard you get. I'm trying to think. I'm sure you've been hot about something besides Captain America: Winter Soldier. That's maybe the
hottest I ever got was when Joe was trying to tell me that OG Mario was better than Odyssey.
Oh yeah, that was the first real argument of the podcast. Made for good drama. I listened back.
That was a really good episode.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I was like, yes, we finally got it. I almost made you and Joe do a spinoff podcast.
He could only take so many L's before he'd quit.
Oh wow! Not even on the podcast. He's not gonna be happy about this.
Anyway, Death Stranding.
Death Stranding, right quick. I know we've been long here. So all this stuff with the baby and all this stuff going on with it, and the little, shadow people that eat you or whatever that they do. This is just a glorified delivery guy, right? Like, is that not what I got? Like, he's basically delivering Domino pizza in post-apocalyptic setting. And I liked it. I thought, holy crap, here's this dude, and he's climbing mountains, and he's delivering this stuff, and he's walking across this ocean, or not the ocean, but the this raging river, and he loses all of his gear, and that kind of sucks, man. I mean, that would break my heart if I was delivering something and went down a river. But there's something about that game. Like, it makes no sense. Makes a little bit more sense. We know we're delivering things. We don't know what we're delivering. But everything else is just like when in that trailer, when he's like, oh, I got an idea. And he straps that baby on the front and he's got that little lot. Like, what in the, I don't know what, I like it. Like, I like what I saw, but I don't know what I saw. And so I kind of came away from that was like, man, I think I might buy Death Stranding day one. I don't know if I can help myself. And I'm not a Metal Gear guy. Like, I've never played the Metal Gear. So I like hearing people talk about Metal Gear because of how crazy it is. I've never played a Metal Gear game. I tried Twin Snakes and was terrible at it and just didn't. I even tried the PS1, the old school version. Was not very good at it, and I quit it. But this game just intrigues me to death. And I think the guy on the PlayStation panel was like, well, we saw more of Death Stranding. And instead of getting answers, we got a whole lot more questions about what's going on. I don't know about you guys, I thought it was pretty intriguing, and I actually got more excited about that game. So that was, I guess, a surprise because I didn't really care about it before. And then now seeing this, I'm like, I kind of got to play this game. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh, I was going to say, I have no desire to actually play this game, but
I'm the weird one out of the group here.
It's still at the top of my morbid curiosity list of I really want to know what this thing is, because I think I joked and said, this was like Norman Reedus, a series of misfortunate events at one point, and I laughed really hard. I think it was Danny O'Dwyer from No Clip said that this was he's a mailman simulator.
Yeah.
And it's just like, this is so weird, and Kojima is just the embodiment of a weird character, or weird guy. He is a character, and it's just this game is asinine, and I'm just so curious.
It's like the Postman with Kevin Costner with like 3 Men and a Baby. Like It's like, it's just so odd to me that would even. It's just odd. And then the more I watched it, the more my eyebrow kind of raised. And I was like, I'm kind of into this. I don't know what that means for me, like what that says about me. But man, that I'm kind of really I'm into this Kojima weirdness stuff, man. I don't know what it is, but
what's crazy to me is that he's had this very specific vision for this game since he left Konami. Like,
right.
And what he's had 2 years. It's been 2 years since he left Konami, and this game's like it looks half ready at least to come out. Like he's known for like since the day he left Konami exactly the game he wanted to make, and he's making it. And we still don't even understand what we're looking at. Like, just, like I said, it's a game that's for people weirder than me.
He's got a good.
I can't wrap my mind around.
He got Gorilla on it, which is good. I mean, they just got done with Zero Dawn, so it looks very much like Zero Dawn in the way it moves and kind of the setting and stuff. But it's just I didn't think I'd care, and the more I watched that trailer, the more I was like, oh crap! Like that gone Kojima got me. I'm this big fish, and he threw this weird little hook out there, and I jumped on it. But I just thought it was just absurdity at its best for him. So
I do really keep forgetting Gorilla's working on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure it'll play right.
That does improve my prospects on it some, but I do always forget that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. Sorry, Aaron.
I hope the look of it. It's okay. We were all kind of on the same subject. I just hope the look of it improves. I felt like the landscapes, knowing what Gorilla's engine is capable of coming out of Horizon Zero Dawn, and especially like Frozen Wilds to the DLC, they're just fantastic landscapes. And there was something about the way they looked in this trailer and gameplay that was just like, it felt very unfinished. And maybe that's just simply we needed some more information to say, this is like pre-alpha footage, and it'll look better when it really hits the market. But there's just something about that game that still looked off in terms of the landscapes and how he walked. But yet the motion capture for the animations, even in gameplay, looked really, really good.
Yeah.
His walking looked good.
Yeah, they've got that down. I was with you on the it just looked very plain. And I guess you're it really almost it took place in like one part of it, like the more of the mountainous kind of cold wintry type of thing. So maybe there's more to. Obviously, there should be more to it than that. But I was with you. It's very almost flat looking. Like it's not. It's just didn't, because the color palette was so gray and kind of off putting. It almost didn't seem like the world was almost like just a background. Like there really wasn't much going on with it. But hopefully with Gorilla, I think they'll probably be able to fix that. Hopefully, to do that. So yeah, guys, you guys got any other things you guys want to talk about before we sign off here? None. Go ahead, Andrew.
We totally set up that Final Fantasy VIII joke on it earlier today at lunch, by the way.
Yeah, he stole my thunder a little bit.
I did steal it, but I kept waiting on you to use it. And you didn't.
Well, I was kind of waiting on this moment where it was going to be like, so what was the most disappointing thing about E3? I figured that was coming at some point, and I was like, I'm going to jump on it right there.
I was trying to keep it positive here, guys.
I learned on the Bill Simmons, Jalen Rose podcast. Well, it's Bill Simmons' podcast, but Jalen Rose was on it, that when you're having those planning meetings, if you theory craft something, like if you're talking about an idea, until one of you goes on air and says it, it's fair play. Like whoever says it first, it's their idea, it's their thought, it's their take, it's their approach. Like they own it, even if the other guy thought of it. So sorry, man, I beat you to it.
It's all cool. It's all cool.
All right, guys. Aaron, thanks for coming on, man. We'll have you on some more. Yeah, man, it was awesome. Andrew, always, as always, thanks for taking time out. Daniel, thanks. I'm sure he listens to this. Maybe he doesn't. Thanks for holding on here. And thanks for you guys listening. So this is kind of our season 2, kind of I think we've got this podcasting thing down to somewhat of a science. We don't have glowing babies, so we may need to get Kojima in here and see what's going on with that. But we're definitely kind of getting it down to science. We are going to do more special episodes, kind of be more proactive in doing things right when it's hot. So you'll get, a little bit of news right off instead of just, random subjects like we're usually pretty good at doing. So, but thank you guys for being on. And this is Monster Geek Podcast. I'm your Aaron Chief Aaron, and we are out.
LeBron to the Lakers.